everyone, and welcome to another episode of Speak Up, the place where you come to speak up and talk about the Black ecosystem. Thank you again to Televida. This is where it's coming from. So watch Televida if you want to speak up. Today, I am really excited because I am here at the Kaufman Foundation. And the reason I'm here is because I was on a panel for the 5th annual State of the Black Entrepreneurs in the Midwest. So we're not just talking about in Kansas City, we're talking about in the Midwest. As you know, we always talk about how do we build a better ecosystem or rebuild the Black ecosystem. We've always been a village. And part of what we talked about today was where our failings are, where our shortcomings are, where we're good at, and what we need to do next. So today I have the pleasure of having not only the creator who 5 years ago came up with the idea of discussing this, but I also have a person from the Federal Reserve that I love dearly, and I'm so glad that we're back in person again. But this guy right here, he lives and breathes how do we build the ecosystem for the Black community, and he has all the stats, all the data, and just what we need. So without further ado, I am going to welcome my guest.
Thank you.
Thank you first. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm going to first say Kira Cherie Hopkins.
Yes.
Kira means beloved.
Yes.
And Cherie means
Shining.
Beloved, shining,
Yes.
Kira Hopkins.
Thank you.
And then Dale Gines, who traveled all the way from Omaha. He gets on the highway and comes and goes like Superman.
Yes.
I want to thank both of you guys for coming. Oh my God, today was amazing. It's a reminder of where we need to be.
Yeah.
And so, Kira, I'm going to start with you. I want to know what even made you come up with just the idea that we need to talk about the state of
Black entrepreneurship. Yeah, absolutely. So, Kim, thank you so much for having us today and for you having a program where we can actually speak up about issues that are very vital to our community. And so when we were doing ways that we can make an impact inside the communities that we serve, not just training entrepreneurs, but then bringing awareness about entrepreneurship, I wanted to do a town hall. And I don't know if you guys remember, but Tavis Smiley used to do town halls.
Yes,
Do y'all remember his town halls?
Yes.
And I just remember being consumed with all of this knowledge. Like, they are really bringing a lot of good information. They're bringing people who are expert subject matter experts, but they're also bringing people who are credible.
Yes.
And so it's not enough for us to have a conversation if we're not having conversations with credible resources, credible sources, people who are actually doing the work and doing it with their hands and their feet.
Yes.
And so I said, you know what? I'm just going to create a conscious conversation. And it's so funny because Dell was on one of our other conscious conversations that we had when we were talking about entrepreneurship and education and how those things kind of intersect. And so today we've done our 5th annual one. We're very excited that we're able to continue to do it every year. But most importantly, we're glad that we're able to bring awareness and information to the masses about what really is the state of Black entrepreneurship. And so that's kind of where it came from. Shout out to Tavis Smiley.
Absolutely.
And I think he was on C-SPAN at the time.
Oh,
it was
my
like
God.
a low
You're
budget.
way back when.
But I used to watch it, and so that programming kind of went away, and I was like, but the conversation, the need is still there.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
So as a business, I think it's important that we not only utilize the market for profit issues, but actually give back and serve. And so this is our way of doing that.
Dale, I am so excited to have you. I have been waiting. When I looked at the agenda and the program and who was coming, and I had the idea of doing the show here, I was like, oh, I need to have Kira and Dale. Dale, I want people to know who you are. I know it was 2012. Was it 2012 when you did the on the Black women,
No, that was recent. That was 2017.
2017, was it? I knew it was close, but
yes.
So
and maybe we released it in 2018 because I think I did the research in 2017 and we released the report in 2018.
Yeah. So Dale, tell everybody. Number one, let me back up. Dr.
Dr.
Dale
Dale
Gines.
Guys, yes.
Can you please tell us a little bit more about, the Federal Reserve, your background? What?
Yeah. So the Federal Reserve Bank is the monetary policy institution for the United States. So our primary function is, in this time, it's interesting because our job is to regulate inflation or price stability, what we call it, and full employment. Those are our two congressional mandates. And the way that the bank as a whole does that primarily is through lowering the interest rates, among other things, raising and lowering the interest rates, among other things. But we have 12 regional banks in the Board of Governors, and I'm from the Kansas City Fed. So without going through all the states, pretty much the 7 states in the middle, all are parts of them, including my state, Nebraska. And we also have a function, which is our function, the Community Development Department. And that came out of the 70s through redlining and Congress saying banks shouldn't do that anymore. So they passed something called the Community Reinvestment Act. And our division was born in we're now in every bank, Federal Reserve Bank, but also the FDIC has one, OCC has a Community Development Department. And so we just go about doing the work, focusing on low and moderate income populations, making sure they have full access to the economy. And my job for the Kansas City Fed is small business and economic development. And that's where a lot of this work actually came from over the last 11 years, is really trying to look at our communities, done a lot of work in rural, doing a lot of work in rural communities too again this year, and saying, how do we help these communities that have been either historically disinvested in or under optimized and used, like ours and Black communities, or rural communities that have been smacked with such a hard decline that you're seeing such an out-migration from rural areas into urban areas. Some just can't survive for another decade.
Yeah.
And so that's been my last 12 years of existence, is trying to figure that out. And our primary solution to that is economic development led by entrepreneurship, which we call entrepreneurship-led development or entrepreneurship ecosystem building.
So while we're talking about the ecosystem, which is so much needed in our community, I had a conversation with my pastor and Imam Bilal a couple of weeks ago. They were on the show, and Imam Bilal, and you said it today, language. We have in the Black community a disconnect in language. We didn't use ecosystem. Ecosystem was very new, unless you went, like I was fortunate enough to go to a predominantly white school most of my life. So learning about the ecosystem, that's why I knew everything has an ecosystem.
Yeah.
I knew the word, didn't know the understanding or how it fit for us. We always said village.
Yeah.
And so when we start talking about rebuilding the village or the ecosystem, because they are intertwined, what do you see as, and either one of you can, or all of us can discuss it, what do you see as the biggest gap? Like our first step, because we got to figure out we've got a lot of issues, but which one can we look at first, or should we look at first to start bringing everything else in?
You want to talk about that?
Well, you know what? We have this conversation a lot. Which one is more important? It's almost like the chicken or the egg. If you do one without the other, is it going to work? Which one comes first? I'm just going to rest on education. And the reason why I do is because I know that I know that the knowledge, when we apply it, and somebody said that today, knowledge is not power, it's applied knowledge. And so I know that no matter what, we can build a bunch of houses, but if we're not educated enough to take care of our communities, yes, then the housing, it's not going to stand. Yeah. We can give people a lot of resources to start a business, but if the knowledge is not there in order for them to know how to run their businesses, the businesses won't last. I just feel like education is so important, but the problem that I see is that we don't have the best school systems because we don't have the best economic situations, and our economies aren't the strongest, which means our housing isn't the strongest, which means our taxes aren't going back. It's almost like this never-ending cycle that's broken, but that cycle somehow keeps going, even though it is off the rails.
Yeah. So from a technical standpoint, the people have been using the word ecosystem, entrepreneurship ecosystem, all wrong. And it's kind of like it got Googleified or Xerox. So it doesn't matter if you go to Yahoo or you go to Bing, you say you're going to go Google something, right?
Yeah.
Right. But you're on Bing or you're on Yahoo search engine, or Xerox. You could be using a total different copier, but you can say we're going to go Xerox something, right?
Right.
And so ecosystem, and this is a natural evolution of a new field where people start taking terminology and agnosticizing it, right? They just use it for a wide variety of things. But from a technical standpoint, because this was my dissertation, an ecosystem is really consists of two things: entrepreneurship. It's the business environment and the network, right? So if you think of that, it's the relationships between people and institutions, and it's the availability of those institutions and what those institutions and policies are doing in a community. So if you have a business environment, for example, where we don't have a Kira, right? There's a deficit there, or anybody that's her equivalent. Well, you need to fill that. But at the same time, you want those relationships of interconnection between entrepreneurs and organizations and people and entrepreneurs in the community. And you want the community itself to say, this is a pathway forward. So for us, it's like if you go back in Black history, there has historically been a large movement to demonize capitalism.
Yes.
And it's very challenging because we're now fighting over that historical legacy. I mean, all the way from W.E.B. Du Bois up to the Panthers.
Yes.
Right? Who are promoting this, and this is what it means to be conscious, is you need to fight against this capitalist system, but yet we need money from the system.
That's right.
Right.
So we have fought at odds with ourselves. And so if you look at it historically, though, like we had kind of these self-contained communities under Jim Crow.
Yes.
Not all good.
Not all
you know,
good.
there's a reason why we fought.
Yeah,
we fought
yeah,
this
right,
out and
yeah,
say
right,
it.
yeah.
But then at the same time, you had
hard.
some that were really, really strong
Yeah.
under that. And those principles, and that's why I tell people today, they say, well, Dale, can you give me an example of strong black ecosystem? I say, just go to Harlem Renaissance period.
Right.
Go to Black Wall Street, Greenwood, Oklahoma. Go to Hayes High.
Yeah.
Like these are there. And what were the features that made them there? That made them strong.
Right.
Energy focus on, collective economics, wealth recycling, recycling the dollar, leveraging each other's resources, mutual support, community and family.
Right.
Yeah.
That's an
Right.
ecosystem.
That's an ecosystem.
Like I can get way more technical than that, but if you want to break it down, the communities that we had in the past that were very strong and vibrant are what we need to replicate today in a more globalized, network-driven social media era.
Yeah.
So that's our task, is to take the spirit of Black Wall Street and to translate it into the technology, resources, and environments of today in our community. And you have an ecosystem building if you do that.
Absolutely.
So good.
You know, and I was so excited when I saw the slide come up that said Black Wall Street, because everybody knows I got obsessed with Black Wall Street. And even, I drove back and forth to Oklahoma. I got to know people. I met Hannibal, who I interviewed.
With the books?
Yes.
Yeah.
And for me, when I went there, I was more concerned or wanting to learn how the first generation freed slaves come across country,
Yeah.
run into another slavery type situation under the Creek Indian, and still figure out a way to build an ecosystem that was prosperous. But not only that, they were destroyed in 2021 and rebuilt in 2021.
You know what killed them? Integration.
Integration.
And integration and urban renewal. If you want to point to most stable, identified Black communities across America, what killed a large percentage of them as we know them today is integration and urban renewal, and not the integration that Dr. King was working for, but kind of this one-way assimilation.
Yeah.
And so you saw a lot of Black people leaving the community, a lot of white businesses coming in. One scholar said, integration was the largest opening of a domestic market in American history, because think about what Walmart does to small communities.
Yes.
They go in there and they have the purchasing power. They can reduce the price point, and they have the market power.
Yes.
And that's effectively what white businesses did when integration occurred.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's like I said in the panel, and I didn't get to unpack it more, because we didn't pivot or have a foundation of economic success, viability, and focus on economic independence, we had no ability to fight that when it came.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so in part, our civil rights leaders put us at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
On one hand, they got positive legislation passed. On the other hand, we left 1960s very, very weak from a economic standpoint,
Yeah.
and we still pay the cost today.
We're
Yeah.
still paying the cost. Speak up. I'm saying, okay, this is what Speak Up is about. Because I really think that part of our problem, it goes back to your foundation, education.
Yes.
Mhm.
We're not educated.
Yeah.
But also, we have this mindset that we want to have this we want to play in the capitalistic game with socialistic mindset.
Yes.
So, and I say this all the time, we can't keep walking in the doors with our hands out
Mhm.
and expect to be given the same respect
Yeah.
as our counterparts.
Absolutely.
We have to be more conscious of how the dollar works
Yes.
because we don't know,
Which is education.
which is education. We've got to understand politics.
Yes.
When we go into places, I mean, even as a small business, we've been in forums with small businesses, and the congressman will be in there, and you're asking the congressman about potholes. It's like, really, the congressman, that has nothing to do with your potholes.
Yeah.
So we have to educate our people about politics and where they come.
Can I say something real quick? I've worked with hundreds of businesses, whether it's a business banker, community educator, whatever. I've never had one white person ask me about a business grant that I can remember. But
Wow.
I can repeatedly tell you how many black people have asked me about business grants.
Yeah.
And I just now thought of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
our whole mindset is wired
about-
to
it's
reach out to
wired,
yeah.
others
Yeah.
versus to build ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But can I say this on
Yeah.
is Speak Out?
Oh, yeah, it's Speak Up. And let me
Speak
say
up.
this. Televida has given us a free and a total autonomy to say what we want to say
Yeah.
without being politically incorrect and
Yeah.
getting them shut down.
No, I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
it's
I
Speak Up.
appreciate the opportunity. So to that, when you start talking about reforming mindsets, right? The reasons I believe that we're always coming with the grant and the handout is because that was the system that was created for us
Exactly.
at the end of the civil rights movement. How can we just give to you? And it made us think that everyone is supposed to come to us and to give us everything, and we're never supposed to invest in ourselves. I say this about entrepreneurship. If you never own a business, own yourself.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah.
Own
Ooh-wee.
yourself. Own your time.
That's a snap, honey. Yes.
Own your talent.
Yeah.
Own your resources. Own your
Yeah.
mind. We spend so much of our life giving ourselves to other things and other people's visions.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's why I love entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
because I get an opportunity to work on my vision. And hopefully my vision is to help other people with their visions. That's a way that we can all continue to build a strong ecosystem, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I know that people want to look at entrepreneurship as, well, I don't want to own a business. Well, just own you.
Right.
Just
Right.
own yourself.
Well, and we do have to have workers. So everybody can't be an entrepreneur.
But I think they can, but I think they say that out of fear. And,
Oh,
I don't
and-
want
and-
to own my own
yeah,
business.
I think they say it out of fear. And like everybody can be an entrepreneur because you can work for somebody and have a
Yeah,
business.
yeah,
Oh, this is
Like
true.
even if
Yeah.
you're on
Yeah.
eBay, I tell everybody, every single black household should have some kind of business where their family is seeing, whether it's an eBay garage sale, whether it's only generating $500, so that you understand how it works. Kids and people in the community can see it. And if you need some rainy day money, if you're not going to scale it, but and you understand how that mindset works. Now, I want to reframe it. And I want to clarify, because I'm not one of those people that, brutalizes and demeans, black people as a general stereotype. So when I say that people come with grants, I don't want to minimize, that particular way that we've been raised, but help people understand, logically speaking, we should not even be where we're at as a people here at today.
Yeah.
Like, we are much further along than American society ever wanted or expected us to be. Like, people don't understand that what we went through, the Middle Passage, slavery, all of these different things
Yes.
is unprecedented in human history.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's never happened before. You can't point to other groups, other histories. Nothing has ever happened to a people group like happened to the slaves that were taken across the Atlantic, because people couldn't go across the Atlantic.
Right. Right.
So first of all, what we need to understand is that our very existence is a testimony to our innovation strength and our ability to be resilient. But we also have to understand that systems are conspiring against us.
Yes.
It's not designed for us.
Yes.
And therefore, we have to kind of take a step back and understand how to navigate these systems in a way that's best for us.
So that segues me in, because I'm glad you said that. One of the things that I feel like the system has done to us is the narrative. If you look at all the stories that come out, and whether it's written by Black people or not, all our movies, anything about history, it's always the tragedies of things that have happened to us. We live in the tragedies, but we don't talk about. Look at us. So Kevin O'Leary, isn't that his name?
Yeah,
Mr. Wonderful on
Shark
Shark
Tank.
Tank.
Yeah.
There was some ladies, and I know you've heard of them, that had the lipsticks that are the weird colors.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And he told them that they would never be anything, that they needed to go back under the rock, crawl back under the rock, like the cockroaches they were.
Wait, what?
Yes.
And so people got on social media, and they were blowing it up. And I got on social media and I said, Mr. O'Leary, there's two things that you can always know. At the end of the earth, at the beginning of time and the end of time, there will be two things left: cockroaches and Black people. So yes. So don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Because we get caught up in the negative narrative. And if we were able to get out of the negative and step back and not live in the tragedy, but say, okay, yes, this happened to us. Now, how do we navigate? And get around this so we don't keep doing this.
Think about it this way. So this is why entrepreneurship is so powerful, whether you're just looking at entrepreneurship from a business perspective or innovation where you're trying to move something forward. You can't be negative.
No.
Right.
Because by definition,
Yes.
you're trying to look into the future and project a positive experience.
That's so good, Dale.
Right. But really, I sat and think about that. So if you really have a community with a true community based, and I'm putting that adjective first, community based entrepreneurial mindset, it cannot exist and be successful in negativity.
Wow.
Because you're constantly looking forward at it from a visionary perspective. And the Bible says what? Our people perish through lack of vision.
There it is.
And then lack of knowledge.
Yes.
And so those two things, and so to demonize the people, you have to dehumanize the people. Right. And so we have oftentimes bought into our own narrative of inferiority or of the inability or of the needing things, resources outside of ourselves. But I didn't say this today. You've heard the stats. Like if you aggregate all the Black income and GDP for every American, we're like the 13th largest nation in the world.
Yes.
So it's not what we have, it's how we use it and how we come together to use it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Well, our time is almost up.
Is it?
Yeah, it goes
crazy.
so fast. It goes so fast, but this is what I'm gonna put you guys on a commitment.
Okay.
We're going to continue this conversation.
Yes.
I'm gonna have you back to go on the show again.
I love it.
Because now I think this conversation has so much that needs to be said. And I don't want to waste this show time just on fluff and conversation, but I really want to get words out to the people and to my people and to the community. How do we really rebuild? How do we become impactful? What do we need to do? And so a lot of questions we didn't get to ask or answer today, but I do want to thank you both for coming on the show and stepping away from this whole day, because a day of conference is always long. So I appreciate it. Thank you, Televida, Exo Film, for producing this. Look for us next week on Speak Up. And I do believe coming up soon, we're going to have some youth on the program. I got to keep that a secret. But I'm going to have some young people that are going to talk about their place in the ecosystem. Thank you again and have a great day.